Ciao carissimi amici, come state oggi? Spero benissimo. Come vedete è una bellissima giornata di sole oggi, un po' caldo sì, ma sono qui fuori a preparare la prossima lezione per voi, che è sempre un piacere per me. Allora, nella lezione di oggi continueremo a parlare delle preposizioni in italiano. Se vi ricordate bene, uno dei miei video precedenti avevamo parlato delle preposizioni semplici. Comunque oggi vedremo le preposizioni articolate. Se non sapete cos'è una preposizione articolata, ve la spiegherò tutto oggi. Va bene? Allora, continuiamo ragazzi. So guys, once again, welcome to my channel, friends. I'm outside today on this beautiful sunny day, on a Sunday afternoon in fact, preparing the next lesson for you all, which is actually my pleasure. So as I just mentioned in Italian, today's subject will be on prepositions in Italian. Now, we will continue on our previous lessons where we had discussed simple prepositions, or le preposizioni semplici, di, a, da, in, con, su, per, tra, fra. But in today's lesson, we will talk about articulated prepositions, or le preposizioni articolate, which just means that we are adding a definite article in our sentence and connecting them and combining them with our simple preposition. So without any further ado, let's get started and andiamo ragazzi. Allora, qui nel parco è un po' ventoso, allora vediamo se riesco a registrare questo video senza troppo rumore. Continuiamo. Adesso vedremo le preposizioni articolate. Allora, metterò sullo schermo una tabella. Okay guys, so let's continue with our lesson on articulated prepositions, le preposizioni articolate. Okay, as I just mentioned on the screen, okay, alla sinistra vediamo le preposizioni semplici. On the left side, first column, we will see our simple prepositions, di, a, da, in, su. We're listing 5 of those. Di sopra vedremo gli articoli. On the top, across the first row, we will see our articles. So what I'm trying to explain here is, when we take a simple preposition and combine it with a definite article, this is what it looks like. So for example, take our first simple preposition, di. If you look at the top, if we combine di with il, this definite article, it becomes del, D-E-L. If we combine it with lo, it becomes dello. If we combine it with L apostrophe, L apostrofo, it becomes del apostrophe, D-E-L-L apostrophe. If we combine it with la, it becomes della. If we combine it with e, plural, okay, this is plural now, it becomes dei. If we combine it with the pluralized article gli, it becomes degli. And then the feminine plural article le, it becomes delle. Okay, so let's continue down. So that's di. So if you look at a, the next simple preposition all the way to the left, you can see how when we combine it with the definite article, how it changes. So a plus il becomes al, a plus lo becomes allo, a plus l apostrophe becomes al apostrophe, and then a plus la becomes alla, a plus e, again plural, masculine plural, becomes ai, and then a plus li becomes ali, and then a plus le, again feminine plural preposition, feminine plural article rather, becomes alle. Now you can follow down and look at it for yourself. Da, if you look across you can see how it becomes dal, dallo, dal, etc. And then in becomes nel, nello, nel, etc. And then finally su. If you combine su with the definite articles, You can see at the bottom row it becomes sul, sullo, sul, apostrophe, sulla, sui, sugli, and sulle. Okay, so that's an overview of our articulated prepositions, the preposizioni articolate. Let's have a look at some examples so it begins to make more sense. Okay, so when we use our prepositions together with definite articles, we will see in these examples that we will use them with plural nouns, non-generic nouns, and geographical locations. Okay, so let's start with simple preposition di. La preposizioni semplici di. From or of, right? Now once again, if you haven't seen the simple prepositions video, I recommend that you go back and find the video on le preposizioni semplici. There are 2 parts in that video. So go back and have a look at those simple prepositions if you don't have a good understanding yet, before you can move on to the articulated version. Okay? So once again, let's look at di. Okay? For example, questa è la casa del mio amico, or della mia amica. Okay? So what are we saying here? We're saying this is my friend's house, whether it's male or female. In Italian, of course, you can tell the difference. So I'm saying di plus il mio amico becomes del mio amico. So if it's a female friend, then it's di plus la mia amica becomes della. Okay, so questa casa, this house, belongs to my friend. È la casa del mio amico, masculine, or è la casa della mia amica. Okay, next example, for example, this is my sister's friend's car. Okay, take a look here. Questa è la macchina dell'amica di mia sorella. This is the car of my friend, of my sister. No, we wouldn't say it that way, of course. We would just say, this car belongs to my sister's friend, or this is my sister's friend's car. Okay? Or, it's my brother's friend's car. Okay? So in the second one, we could say, questa è la macchina dell'amico di mio fratello. So again, if you look at the table, you would see that in this case, because amico and amica begins with a vowel, it becomes del apostrophe. Dell'amica di mia sorella, or dell'amico di mio fratello. In both cases, we have the apostrophe. Let's look at a plural example. Okay, questa è la casa dei miei amici. This house belongs to my friends. Okay, pluralized. Multiple friends. Questa è la casa dei miei amici. So it's di plus e, which is the pluralized definite article, right? Becomes dei. As opposed to di plus il mio amico. This is di plus i miei amici. Okay, let's look at pluralized feminine noun. Okay? Here's a question. Dov'è la scatola delle scarpe? It's a question. I'm asking you, where is the shoebox? Right? In this case, delle scarpe, comes from di plus le scarpe. La scarpa would be singular, right? La scarpa. But plural, it's le scarpe. And once again, if you don't have a good understanding of singular nouns versus plural nouns and the masculine, feminine genders of that, then I suggest you go back to one of my first few lessons where I discuss common and proper nouns and definite articles, singular and plural, masculine, feminine. Okay, let's continue on. We'll look at simple preposition a and how it becomes articulated. So in this case, in this next example, I will say adesso sono al Caffè Roma. Where am I right now? I'm at Caffè Roma. This is a plus il. A Caffè Roma, but it's a very specific place, so we're using a definite article. a plus il becomes al. So I'm saying adesso sono al Caffè Roma. I'm at Cafe Roma, right? And the next example, we're going to the beach this Saturday, or to the sea. So we're saying andiamo al mare questo sabato. A plus il becomes al. Simple preposition a plus definite article il becomes al mare. Well, next example, I'm going to my mom's house, or I'm going to the house of my mother, right? So in this case, we say vado a casa when we're talking about someone's house in general, like their primary residence. Vado a casa di mia mamma, or vado a casa del mio amico. In this case, we do not need the definite article. But if I'm going to a second house, say not the primary residence, I would use the article by saying something like vado alla casa di montagna, vado alla casa al mare. It's a second house, so it's a specific location. I'm using alla. Okay, next example, using pluralized article. Okay, lavoro dalle 9 alle 5. I work from 9 to 5. I work from Monday through Friday. Lavoro dal lunedì al venerdì. So in this case, you will see that lavoro dalle 9 alle 5. 5 is plural, of course, right? 5 o'clock. So 5 is plural. So you have to say alle. A plus le 5 becomes alle 5. And the next part of that phrase, it's I work from Monday to Friday. Al venerdì. Okay, because it would be a plus il venerdì becomes al venerdì. And the next example, we have il negozio è aperto fino all'1. So in this case, I'm saying the store is open until 1 o'clock. So in this case, 1 is singular, right? So 1 o'clock is singular when you're expressing that in Italian. So a plus l'una, L apostrophe una, again because we start with a vowel in una, right? So we have L apostrophe. In this case, it becomes all'una, A-L-L apostrophe una. So il negozio è aperto. The store is open until fino all'una, until 1 o'clock. Okay, that covers preposition a. Allora, siamo arrivati alla fine della prima parte. Nella seconda parte concluderemo il discorso sulle preposizioni articolate. Okay, guys, we've reached the end of part 1. Please stay tuned for part 2, where we will continue and conclude our discussion on articulated prepositions. Grazie e ci vediamo presto. Ciao!